This video is not for whales and dolphins, it's for you, because you are just like me. Average Gamer here, and today I want to talk to you about the characters that are coming in the 1.6 update. We just had the live stream, we got some more confirmed information on Anby 2 Electric Boogaloo and Trigger, and we got confirmed reruns for Burnice and Zhu Yuan. And you might be sat there thinking, hey, well, what characters should I pull? And that's what we're going to talk about kind of right now. So we'll kind of just run through the banners, more specifically focusing on the newer characters. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of talk about the potential value that they could add to your account and why you would consider wanting to pull for them. So here we go. Point number one then is Anby 2 Judgment Day. So Anby is the newest electric attack agent. So looks like she's functioning like an on-field DPS agent. And what she does is she marks enemies. And when you get up to 3 marks, you can unleash the additional marks that you kind of built up on an enemy with her special. And then you get some extra damage in the form of an additional aftershock, which is like an extra attack thing. And when an enemy is marked, she boosts her crit damage against them. In terms of her flexibility and teams, it was confirmed on the live stream that either a stun or support character is required for her additional ability activation, which, to be honest, is incredibly flexible. It's also the same as Evelyn had in patch 1.5, which means that she can be run in pretty much any team which is kind of coherent. So any team that kind of makes any kind of sense is going to be fine with Anby. Okay, she's got a decently big AoE on her ult. It's pretty similar to Evelyn's from the look of it, but it's not a Miyabi big style ult. But it will probably be quite useful for enemies if you can't quite group them up. And it just seems like it's a nuke, honestly. It just seems like it's a big damage attack, which is completely fine. She is an attack character. After all, she is meant to deal damage. So also running in the first half, we have Burnice. And when we start talking about value, we'll talk about, like why you would want to consider Burnice. But just as a really quick recap, Burnice is a fire anomaly character. She's part of the Sons of Kaladin. She's pretty flexible. She's kind of known as being an off-field anomaly applier because she can apply anomaly of the fire element while she's not even on field anymore. So she kind of just enables other characters to do really fun stuff. You can also do really fun stuff with Burnice as well. You can also run her on field. You can also build her to deal a lot of damage in the time windows when she is on field, even if you primarily play her as an off-field agent. And then in the second half, we also have Trigger, which is another new agent for patch 1.6. Trigger is a stun electric agent and has a build-up bar called Purge. And what even is the naming at this point? It's just, at least it's one syllable anyway. But she gets this from hitting her hold basics, and then she can then use it when she's off field to trigger aftershock attacks, which means that she doesn't have to be on field to build up days and to, deal damage, which is very interesting, very cool. Her EX special gives you 8 seconds of those aftershock attacks without consuming the purge, so you can kind of weave that in and out of your purge bar so that you can, make the most of that time. And when you switch off after holding basic, she triggers a quick assist to bring in the next character. So when you want to switch to your next character, you can hold the basic and then switch, and that's her basic flow of combat. What I'll also mention is that it did say on the live stream, and I will quote it verbatim here because this could be super OP or I might be overthinking it, but it said the aftershocks reveal enemy weaknesses, allowing the squad to deal increased damage. It also did show the damage bar at 120%, which I think is very, very interesting. There is a real possibility that it will always be 120% then with Trigger. So that's pretty awesome because it means that you're never going to be building up days against an enemy that is resistant to you, which is a problem that you would have if you were running another electric stun agent like Anby or Qingyi. Anby 1, I guess, or Qingyi. But I could be misinterpreting that, so, just take it with a pinch of salt for now. I'm sure we'll find out more information as we get close to the time, but this small ability that she has might actually be the most interesting part of her kit. And then in the second half of 1.6, we have the rerunning character of Zhu Yuan. Zhu Yuan is an ether attack agent, and ether is still a pretty rare element at the moment. We only have Astra, Nicole, and Zhu Yuan as our ether element agents, and she's the only character that so far is dealing damage with that element mainly. I mean, you can build Astra and Nicole for that, but she's the only character that was designed to do that from an M0 perspective. And I think that that probably holds a little bit of value on its own. And we'll talk about her some more in a moment when we talk about your teams and setups and what different kind of characters you might have and whether or not it will be worth pulling for Zhu Yuan. But before we move on to the value talk, let's initially just talk about the fact that you probably aren't subscribed. Liking and subscribing is a great way to support small creators like me on YouTube. Thank you so much for all the support so far. You can also drop me a follow over on Twitch if you want to talk about any of this stuff live. And you should join the Discord. It's a great fun place for you to chat with cool peeps who love Zenless Zone Zero and ask for help and advice on your teams. Okay, so on that note, let's get into talking about teams. Okay, so we also haven't addressed the fact that we're getting Pulchra in 1.6. So Pulchra is going to be a stun physical agent and should be an A rank, and you will get her for free. So we'll kind of take that off the table for now because I don't think it makes a huge difference. I think that Pulchra will be someone that you could use with Anby. They kind of demoed Pulchra with Anby in the trailer. So there is a chance that Pulchra is going to be kind of good with Anby, but, you know, it remains to be seen how good she'll be, and you might want to pick up Trigger. But I don't think it'll be too hard to clear the endgame content with someone like Anby with just Pulchra if you wanted to skip Trigger. Now, let's get into it. Let's start talking about the different team options that you might have. Now, if you've lent into the recent anomaly meta, this might be an opportunity for you to build out an attack style team. That's what this patch could be for. In the most recent patch in 1.5, we got Astra and we got Evelyn, which were two absolutely great characters that worked fantastically well together. And that was giving you an opportunity to build, you know, an attack team with two really, really good characters that are very synergistic. And I think in this patch, we're in the same kind of boat. You've got an opportunity to build an attack team with a stun agent, i.e. Trigger, and an attack agent, i.e. Anby 2, that are going to work very, very well together. They're going to be extremely synergistic. And I think that that's kind of the way that we're going. And I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again. But it's kind of that hard sell where they're selling us these back-to-back characters that work extremely well together. And that's fine as long as we're prepared for it, right? So I think for a lot of players, if you skipped last patch and you didn't pick up an attack team that would include Evelyn, now might be the time to invest in Anby 2 if you are in fact interested in Anby 2. If you're not interested in Anby 2, that's fine. You don't have to. You'll be fine. But it's an option. Okay, so let's also talk about the idea of who else you would pair with them. And I think the big elephant in the room is that it would probably be Astra. So Astra is pretty much the best in slot support for practically any team at the moment. So she would be the best in slot support, I would guess, with Trigger and Anby, and that's probably just going to enable Anby to have a lot of field time, which she seems like she would benefit from quite a lot. So yeah, Astra. Great. Very cool. Okay, then let's start talking about other characters that you could potentially pair up with them, and it would probably be another supportive character. Nicole would probably be the second best pick, and then other characters, something like Lucy, would also be pretty great. Caesar may also be incredibly useful. I think she was actually demoed with Caesar as well, and potentially Qingyi. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you should pick up Qingyi now for your Anby 2, but if you happen to have Qingyi and you're not sure if you want to pull Trigger, or you want to just run Anby 2 as soon as she comes out and you already have a built Qingyi, then sure, you can use Qingyi with her by all means. Now, in terms of Trigger, she could very well be better than Qingyi in some of Qingyi's slots right now, but I don't think she will be for, in particular, Haramasa and Zhu Yuan, because I can't really see the stun window getting power crept too much, and that's what Qingyi does provide, whether I think that that's great or not. But I think for attack agents who are less stun window oriented, including things like anomaly agents, Trigger might be a really interesting character to run with them, and I'm kind of super interested to see how that goes. I'll also mention as well that if her weakness pierce kind of thing works the way that I talked about earlier, there is a chance that she could be better on for example, fire teams than someone like Chingy, because Chingy's going to struggle to pick up the days against electric resistant enemies. Of course, they could always change typings of enemies and stuff, so again, that stuff's going to change as the game moves forward anyway, but just something to bear in mind about Trigger. I'll also mention about Trigger, she's got a lot of recoil going on back there. Anyway, so let's talk about the rerunning agents, though, and the kind of value that they would provide. So if you've lent into the recent anomaly meta, i.e., you've maybe pulled Miyabi, you've maybe pulled Yanagi, or, a combination of those, and maybe and Jane, and then you maybe didn't pull for Burnice at the time, then I think picking up Burnice now might be a really good pickup, because Burnice works incredibly well with all three of those other anomaly agents, so she's kind of just going to slot into one of those teams. You could run her with Jane if there's fire or physical weakness. You could run her with Yanagi as long as the enemy isn't weak to one or the other, or you can just kind of brute force it anyway, or you can run her with Miyabi if you want to save your Yanagi to run a hypercarry Yanagi team on a different deadly assault node. So she kind of will give you more anomaly team building options. She is not a necessity though, I wouldn't say, but she is an incredibly useful anomaly agent. Zhu Yuan, on the other hand, is an ether attack agent, as we've already discussed, and I think that she has her niche, which is that she deals a lot of damage. She wants to do it in the stun window. She can be very effective outside of the stun window. You can run her with double support with Astra and Nicole, and I have found that extremely effective. In fact, I was kind of surprised as to how effective that was. You can also run her with a stun agent with Chingy, which would probably be her best team, or with Anby if you're trying to keep it, original Anby, if you're trying to keep it as free to play as you can. But she's a very useful character because of her element right now. However, what I will say is that it did look like the new drive disc set is going to be an ether anomaly buffing drive disc set, and just to exercise a little bit of caution around having an ether DPS, not necessarily an attack agent, but an ether DPS, it might mean that we're getting another ether DPS, probably more likely to be anomaly in the 1.7 update, which we'll talk about a lot more close to the time. But for right now, yeah, if you want an ether DPS, if you want an ether attack agent, Zhu Yuan does fill that niche. A lot of enemies are ether weak, so she has had a really good run in the game, I would say, at this point. But it now might not be quite the best time to pick her up because of what could be coming in 1.7. Obviously, waifu over meta, always waifu over meta, but if you wanted to just hit pause for a second until we get towards the end of patch 1.6, and then we get the update for what's coming in 1.7, and we get confirmed information on the potential for the ether anomaly agent, then you can kind of go for that. And that is particularly true as well if you have other anomaly agents. Let's say if you're planning to pick up Burnice in the first half of 1.6, it might just kind of make sense to wait a little bit on Zhu Yuan in the second half, because if we get that ether anomaly agent in 1.7, you might feel a little bit hard done by if you've just pulled Zhu Yuan as your ether DPS, and then we get a brand new super interesting ether DPS instead. So probably just wait on the Zhu Yuan pulls, unless of course waifu over meta. But anyway, that's about enough out of me. So thank you very much for listening to me yap for, I don't even know how long this will be after the edit. Hopefully this was somewhat useful for you and gave you some food for thought for some things to think about for your team and your builds. But if it wasn't, let me know. If it was, let me know in the comments down below. Much appreciate all the support so far. Remember to like and subscribe for better than average luck on all your pulls. Pull responsibly, stay weird, join the Discord, follow Twitch. Bye.